So recently I've been attempting to decide whether or not my reasons for going to the gym are truly good or whether they're simply selfish and vain. And I've been having thoughts like, is the gym really helping anyone other than myself? It's like I've just been thinking that it's clearly a selfish activity and that there are so many things that humans can do which are way more beneficial than going to the gym. And I came to a realization recently with regard to this topic. I think it was really helpful for me, and I hope that it might help someone watching. So I want to talk about that in this video. So I was asking myself questions like, if my goal in life is to be the best version of myself and to align my actions with the best possible pathway, is going to the gym an effective use of my time? So if you factor in getting ready and traveling to the gym, I probably spend about 10 to 20 hours per week on this activity, and that time could be spent quite productively on something else. So the question is this truly a good use of my time? And you might say that, well, there are so many good reasons as to why you would go to the gym, and I completely agree. And in a future video, I'm going to talk about why I've decided that I'm going to continue to go to the gym, and why I do think that it is part of the pathway forward for me. But the truth is, when I started going to the gym, I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was doing it to gain status, to look cool, to impress girls. That was why I started going to the gym. And now that I recognize the self-defeating and empty nature of those aims, should I continue to go to the gym? Why should I continue to go to the gym? The answers to these questions I will discuss in a different video, but the topic of this video is the realization that I came to whilst considering these questions. This realization is related to the topic of the prideful superego, which always wants you to be perfect and to somehow discern what the most morally superior action is in every single situation. And the ideas that I'm going to discuss really help me to see that not all of the criticisms that my subconscious or wherever these voices come from brings up are legitimate. There are legitimate criticisms that come from your conscience, which is a very useful thing. I want to talk about how you can distinguish between the prideful superego and your conscience, because I realized that there is a difference between these two things. Whilst I had these thoughts, these self-denigrating thoughts about going to the gym and how it wasn't a good use of my time, and I want to share some of the things that I have learned in the hope that it might help someone out. So I realized that living perfectly is just not possible. We can't just physically do, say, as Jesus did, or say exactly the words that Jesus said, because the conditions in which we live are completely different. We can't know exactly what to do or what the most morally superior action is in every single moment. Every individual has a unique and personal relationship to the divine, a unique essence, a unique pathway to the good based on their very individuality. So their personality, their genetics, the external factors which affect them, everything which makes the individual an individual. So we know this, we know that we don't have a full understanding of pretty much anything. So if we don't have a full understanding, then but we still have to act, then we need to rely on something to move forward. We don't have the ability to discern perfection. Our best approximation of that, however, is what we believe to be good and true. If we want to live the best life livable, I believe that the best pathway forward is to act in concordance with what we believe to be good and true, whilst praying that God reveals to us our insufficiencies and failings and realigns our vision in consequence. So that would be your conscience, or God coming to you as the voice of conscience. What our conscience doesn't do, however, is tell us that everything we are doing is terrible and immoral, and tell us that we need to live a saintly life like Christ, because that simply isn't helpful, not least because we have no idea how to actually emulate Christ. Our conscience indicates to us that something we are doing in pursuit of a lower order goal is violating the necessities of a higher order goal. It's a practical and real solution to help us to course correct. It's a real problem that it identifies, and there's something real that we can do about it. So say you're pursuing the lower order goal of fulfilling your primal urges by watching porn, but in doing so, you violate the higher order goal of, say, finding a partner and having a wife in the future, because you will indicate to your dopaminergic system that there is this easy way to get pleasure, and of course you want everything working for you, so you want to have your dopaminergic system working to your advantage to spur you on and motivate you to go out and find a partner. And that would be part of that higher order goal, would be to keep your dopaminergic system working for you. But if you go out and start watching porn, then it's not going to be working for you, because you're going to be able to satisfy that motivation and remove any motivation to go and find a partner, because you're just going to be motivated to go and watch porn, because you don't have to risk rejection when you watch porn. And so if you're at least a little sensible, you're going to value finding a partner more than just getting dopamine, because just getting dopamine is a short-term thing. It doesn't actually result in any long-term meaning. And so your conscience comes knocking and tells you that what you've just done has violated a higher order goal. And there is an aspect of like revelation to this as well. You, at minimum, you understand your own goals explicitly a bit better. Whether you want to call that a revelation from the divine or not, that's up to you. Or whether or not you believe that that was just knowledge that you had somewhere. It's a matter of definition here. But the superego, it doesn't tell you anything. There's no practicality aspect to it. It's your pride thinking that it knows how to define perfection, when in fact it doesn't. So it's important to recognize that you can't be perfect, and that your best approximation of the good is what you believe to be good. Although actions do exist, which humans have done in the past, which do produce better outcomes for the world than going to the gym, let's say, you have to take into account the position which you are in your life, the external factors affecting you, your personality, your individuality, and the things that make you an individual. Everyone is on their own journey, and actions which might not seem to be the best may actually be the best for you in that situation. Because if you go out and try and do what Christ did, you're most likely going to fail. You're not going to be able to do what he did because you don't have the skills, you don't have the wisdom or knowledge or any of these things. But if you go to the gym, you will build strength, you will build confidence, you will build a social standing, you build all these things that help you to leapfrog up and move up. And if in your pursuit of the good and what you believe to be good, you are doing something wrong, then your conscience will come to you and indicate that. So I think doing what you believe to be true and good is the best way forward, as long as you're open to revelation about how you are most likely very wrong about what is good and true. You might argue that so many humans have done evil with the best intentions, and this argument I don't agree with at all. I think that if you truly aim upward, your conscience will indicate to you the flaws in your ideas and actions. This argument presupposes a type of moral relativism, which would suggest that there is no good and evil in this world. It suggests that there is nothing but good intentions, and that what people are striving towards is what they actually believe to be good. I think this is a very naive worldview, which presupposes that evil just doesn't exist. If we lived in a universe where there was no right and wrong, then every idea, when exposed to reality, would achieve the same outcomes. Because if one idea achieves better outcomes than another, that idea is better than the other. That would suggest that some ideas are good and some ideas are bad. If you believe that we can do evil with the best intentions, and you ignore the fact that that person who is doing evil had to double, triple, quadruple down on their ideas, because an evil idea doesn't bode well when it is exposed to reality. An evil idea will produce bad outcomes, and that person would have been able to see that every step along the way. But instead of being humble and realizing that what they were doing was wrong, they were prideful and they clasped their ideas to their heart, and they decided that they know better than what reality is telling them. The reality of Hitler's worldview showed him 1,000,000 times over that what he was doing was wrong. But he continually chose pride over humility, and he didn't course correct. And he continued to spiral down into an abyss of resentment and pride and usurpation of the moral order. Relying on your perceptions isn't contrary to submitting yourself to the will of God, insofar as you accept the fact that you're most likely very, very wrong about everything in your perceptions. We aim at something and then we fire, and it's incredibly likely that you aren't going to hit the target, and we have to accept that. We have to choose to see how we were insufficient and how we were wrong in our perceptions and in our actions, so that we can course correct in the future. But our pride doesn't want us to do that. Our pride wants us to think that we're never wrong. See, I'm not saying that you should have faith in yourself more than God or more than goodness and truth. I'm saying that our best approximation of who God is what we believe characterizes God. And life is a quest to align the two. You don't know who God is, so you can't align your actions with what He wants for you. You have to take a leap of faith. You have to accept the fact that you don't know. You aim upward. You define what you think is good and true. You play it out in reality. It doesn't work. Your conscience tells you what hasn't worked, and you change for the better. And that's life. It's a quest to align your perception of the good with good itself. Your pride wants to make you think that you know all of this already, that you know what is good. But that never plays out in reality because you never get the perfect result. And so you end up with this self-denigrating superego, which tells you that you're terrible and immoral. In keeping with these ideas, what you can do practically to distinguish between your conscience and this prideful superego is to try and determine what the voice is actually telling you to do. Is there a practical step that you can take? Ask it why what you're doing is so reprehensible and what you can do to fix it. In most cases, the superego will have no answer to that because it doesn't actually know why you went wrong. It doesn't know why you went wrong because it still thinks that what you know and how you acted before was correct, but something else has gone wrong. It doesn't actually know what went wrong. But your conscience is going to have a practical input. It's going to tell you that you need to be doing something else because you've actually violated your own idea of the good. So that's all I have to say surrounding this idea. I hope it's helped someone, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and God bless.